Okay, first of all, apologies if you can hear some vague music in the background because I have neighbours who literally don't give a shit about anyone else living on this street because they're still playing music. Anyway, I just watched Doctor Who 73 Yards and I don't know what to think about this one yet 'cause I kind of had mixed feelings about it. I will say, in terms of like scoring that, I'd say this one was a much better one by RTD. But it kind of feels like it's recycling a lot of elements from his previous works. For example, particularly I got a lot of Turn Left and Years and Years type vibes from this episode, you know, it treading on similar things. And it's also a return type of the Dr. Light type episodes and that. And if you don't know, why Dr. Light episodes weren't, really a thing, is basically one, they were a budget saver, but another reason they were done is basically so that the main cast could basically get on filming another episode while another cast would film the Dr. Light episode, so they could basically, help with the production and that. But I don't know if that's the case here or not. I don't know. Also, this episode didn't have the opening theme. I've no idea why. It's a bit strange. There doesn't seem to really be a reason for it. But yeah, I just found that a little bit odd. Why doesn't it have the opening theme? I've no idea why, because it's not like it was in a case of it it was pushing the runtime, because it's 47 minutes. I mean, Space Babies was 49, if I remember rightly, so yeah, no idea why. But yeah, without spoiling this episode, too much, to just get into the initial premise, in that it's basically the Doctor and Ruby get out of the TARDIS. The Doctor accidentally stands on this sort of skicks and string, like, witches shrine or whatever it is. It's never really explained. And then quickly vanishes. And then this woman appears who is 73 yards away from Ruby. And basically anyone who goes up to this woman basically runs away in fear and will then never speak or see Ruby again. Kind of reminded me a bit of the Curse of Clyde Langer from the Sarah Jane Adventures type thing. Kind of reminded me of that. But yeah, RTD seems kind of obsessed in this new era of not doing sci-fi stories, basically. Like, basically, it just seems completely against doing them. He's much more just like, like, for example, Kate Stewart shows up in this episode briefly, and it's just like, we're dealing with like magic and stuff like that. It's just like, yeah, just like, no, I don't like the magic existing in the Doctor Who universe because it kind of just breaks everything. That's why they don't kind of really gel together. I really wish the neighbours would turn off the music. I'm bloody sick. I'm hoping you can't hear us, but God, it's bloody driving us mental. Yeah, they just don't kind of really gel together particularly very well. And, usually what was going on in the past, like, in the Demons, for example, you can just explain it away with just like, it's science that we don't understand type thing, which, yeah. Plus also, when you constantly keep doing this, it doesn't make it as special. And yeah, there's that. But overall, it's alright. It's alright, this episode, actually. To be honest, I think it was good to, finally have a bit of character for Ruby, because, to be honest, the first 4 episodes and that she hasn't had a lot in this episode, to be honest. And though, to be honest, she doesn't really have much here. I mean, um, what's her name? I can't remember. I'm too tired. She doesn't find enough job, but it's just like, it's harder to really care as much from her character and that, because, again, we don't really know her that well, to be honest. And it's a lot harder to, really care about that. But yeah, this episode, I don't know. I can kind of flip-flop between it. I mean, it is intriguing. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it took inspiration from The Woman in Black as well at times. And I will say, in some cases, the sound design and the direction did make certain scenes pretty tense. So it did have some good tension in places. So there was that. It had some good tension in places. But yeah, I don't know. It kind of feels like, for example, like the first half of the episode and the second half just kind of feel like they're two kind of like separate episodes. It kind of shifts a bit in terms of tone, I guess. Like the second half, becomes much more like, turn left and years type, whereas the first is kind of like a little bit of a, I don't know, more of a horror type thing, or stuff like building up. There is still a bit of that later, but yeah, it's just a bit odd in the way that does it. But yeah, I just don't know what to really think about this one, to be honest. I will say it is considerably, better written than Space Babies and that. And it isn't trying to, shove the obvious message and that, whatever Russell T Davies thing, just like down your throat as much. So, yeah, but I don't know. I think it just worked a little bit better in that regard. But again, it's just a hard one, to get yourself around, and it does too. I think this is for the best, in that it doesn't explain anything. It doesn't explain itself in the end, which I think is for the best. Because if RTD to turn around and said, "Oh yeah, all this is magic," it's magic. It's just like, I think that would just kind of, break the universe a bit, like, because I really don't think magic, like actual magic, it just doesn't really belong in Doctor Who, and that it's not about the show. That's not what the show is. It can be, sci-fi fantasy and be science that, looks like magic, and that, but is actually, not perceived as just, science, or we don't understand, or some sort of science from a different universe and type thing. But when it's like literal magic, it's just like, yeah, no. So, plus also on those occasions, it just makes it less special as well. Like stuff like, when the rule, like if you're going to constantly break the rules on things, then for one, it doesn't really make it special anymore. Like, stuff like the Toy Maker and stuff like that, the appearances where basically, the regular rules can be broken. If you're going to do that constantly, then it kind of just loses, its stakes and income. So, yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that. So, yeah, I think, though, it was better than Space Babies. I mean, was it better than The Devil's Chord? maybe, probably, to be honest, I'd say this is a better written episode than The Devil's Core, because The Devil's Core was basically held entirely by its villain. Basically. It was just held together by that, and if that hadn't have gone that way, then that episode probably, well, almost certainly would have fallen apart. Whereas this one, can stand up more on its own. I still wouldn't call it brilliant, but, I'd say it's a cut above The Devil's Core, and that, I'd still say Boom is the only, what, proper one, but this still feels more like proper Doctor Who and that than the first two episodes did. This still feels more in line with it, not quite there. Not quite there, this would, still be a bit of a lower tier, and that if we were comparing it to previous eras, and that, well, apart from Jodie's. So, yeah, but there we go, I've kind of waffled on enough with this.